meeting, but we have some faces we haven't seen before. So what I'll do is typical process. We'll start with Representative Spencer. If you just identify your name and your district, and we'll go down the line.
Paulette Braddock, represent District 19.
Darshan Kendrick, District 93.
Sam Watson, District 172.
Andy Welch, District 110.
Regina Quick, District 117.
Simone Bell, House District 58.
Representative Scott Holcomb, House District 81.
All right, thank you, members of the committee, for joining us today on a very long day. And, sorry, Pam?
Representative Pam Dickerson, 113.
Thank you. And we have Mary Margaret Oliver and Representative Jacobs joining us. What we wanted to do is go over one bill today, which is House Bill 236. This is a bill that's been sponsored by Representative Quick, and we have a committee substitute that came out of the subcommittee, and we'll have and we're not going to have a hearing on this one today. We're just going to put it up for a vote, but there are a couple of amendments that will need to be made to the bill before it comes out of committee. At this time, I'll let Representative Quick just give a brief synopsis of the bill for those that are hearing it for the first time, and then we'll proceed on to the vote if there are any questions. Representative Quick, what's your number? 17. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen of the committee. I'm not sure whether or not the synopsis or the summary that was done for the subcommittee is still in your folder, but if it is, I will try not to repeat the information contained in it. But let me just say that this House Bill 236 is an update of the Uniform Interstate Family Support Act. That's an act that provides a substantive and procedural framework for the establishment, modification, and enforcement of support orders among the states. The version that we now operate under has not been modified or amended since 1996, and it has virtually no protections or mechanisms for Georgians who seek to enforce support orders abroad. This latest version of the Uniform Interstate Family Support Act would place Georgia among 8 states, I think, that have now enacted the most recent version, and there are actually 16 additional states that have the 2001 version, which we do not have. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but this basically is a modernization and a streamlining of our support mechanisms and our support framework, which is the support equivalent of the Uniform Custody Act that we have and we updated several years ago.
Thank you, Representative Quick. Any questions from members of the committee? We had a good vetting of this at our last hearing. Thank you for presenting the bill, Representative Quick, and this is also fully, I think, sponsored by the State Bar of Georgia. They have blessed the bill, if that's the correct terminology. Is that right?
This is part of the State Bar of Georgia legislative package for this legislative session, and the act has actually also been endorsed by the American Bar Association.
All right. Representative Holcomb, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Quick, I appreciate what you're doing, and it makes total sense, and I'm following it and understand it, and agree with what you're trying to do. And I went through it quickly, and I apologize we didn't have a chance to talk before here. The only suggestion I would make would be on line 1191 on page 36. It says for records from outside Georgia, they must be in the original language, and if not in English, must be accompanied by an English transition. It might make sense to make that a certified English translation. I've done a fair amount of work with foreign documents in foreign cases, and that's usually the standard, so an item to consider. Line 1191.
It's 1191, and you're saying before the word, the second word English should be certified. Is that correct?
Correct.
I guess my question, Representative Holcomb, would be certified by whom and under what's the process there, since it's not otherwise defined in the Act?
They have official translators, and I don't know if we could get legislative counsel to give us a quick update on that. But they have people that are approved, because the concern would be here that you could just have maybe a layperson make a translation, but it not be as good as it needs to be.
I think I do hear your concern about wanting to make sure that it is certified by someone who is capable, licensed to make the translation. Is that the point of the?
Exactly.
Okay. I think what because the certified does raise a question of ambiguity as to in just putting that term in there. It may be something that we need to look at in terms of putting that kind of definition in the in the bill somewhere else. So why don't we do this? Since this has been worked on by the bar, I'm going to presume, and we don't have individuals here for public testimony today, that they've already contemplated those issues, and it may be addressed somewhere else in the code in terms of requiring that the translator be someone that is licensed to do so. So I appreciate the comment. I think what we need to do is we may have to look at, if it's a problem, let's look at it further, and we'll talk to our friends over in the Senate about that. But as of right now, I'd like to stick with the language we have, if that's okay, with Representative Holcomb. We have a question from 25. Who's 25? Representative Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to make a similar comment because the rules of evidence don't apply in a lot of administrative hearings, and even if the rules of evidence require a certified copy in court, they may not require them in administrative hearings, which the child support recovery people do a lot. I say that just because I think it's something we ought to look at and see where certified translations are and are not required as a matter of law, because we don't want the state of Georgia to have to pay for those if we don't have to.
Thank you, Representative Oliver. I think to Representative Holcomb's point, he just wants to make sure he's got it translated by someone who knows what they're doing.
Right.
And I think that's a fair point. But I think we'll have to let that just be on the record for now. Thank you, Representative Holcomb. Thank you, Representative Oliver. Questions from Chairman Jacob?
Well, I guess continuing on that train of thought, what would be the problem with including a little additional language at the end there that says verified by the translator? I mean, you know, I certify that this is a true and correct translation of the original document into English.
I'm certainly open to that suggestion, but I think the question would be, is the person competent to even make the verification? I think it was to Representative Holcomb's point.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure we want to be so prescriptive in this particular bill to, you know, put requirements in there as to who needs to be translating a document. But certainly if a document is translated and it's later found out that some key provision of the document has been changed by the translator, you would want to have that accountability mechanism, which would be the sworn statement under oath. So I think it would be sufficient to say, after by an English translation, verified by the translator.
Okay. Representative Holcomb, does that address your concern just to a degree or fully?
To a degree, yes. The only concern that I would have, and I don't want to lawyer this to death, is to make sure that person was competent to do it in the first place. Because if they validate that it's the translation to the best that they can make it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an accurate translation. And so what I'm driving at is to ensure that whoever's making the translation has the competence to do it.
All right. Well,
Does that
then
make sense?
that would be a bit more than we can do right here, I would think.
All right. Thank you.
If I may also just ask one question, is this promulgated by the Uniform Law Commission, or is it a different? Who's responsible for promulgating changes to this particular Uniform Act?
The Uniform Law Commission.
All right, and this is consistent with their changes, pretty
Yes.
much. All right, all right.
All right. Anything further, Chairman Jacob? Okay. Any other questions from members of the committee? All right. Hearing none, then I'll take a motion on the bill. This is going to be LC 295598S. This will be as a committee substitute. I have a motion and a second. Now, any amendments on the bill? Representative Quick, do you have any amendments?
Just one second, Mr. Chairman. let me get to the page number we were looking at earlier.
And while she's doing that, in our esteemed Ledge Counsel, Jill Travis, is here today with us, and she, in her review of the bill, caught a few small minor details that need to be clarified, and those are the amendments we're making.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to page 5, at line 150, I would move that the bill be amended to substitute the word "a" for the word "the," so that it would read, "Grant a tribunal of Georgia jurisdiction to render judgment or issue an order relating to child custody or visitation in a proceeding under this article."
Do we have a motion on the amendment on line 150? Motion is second. All those in favor of the amendment, any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment on line 150, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Any other amendments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on page 21, at the top of the page, at line 676, at the end of that sentence in subparagraph 6, to add the phrase, "or the law of a foreign country," so that the sentence would now read, "an acknowledged father as provided by applicable state law or the law of a foreign country."
All right. Is there a motion on the amendment to line 676? Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor of the amendment to line 676, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. All right. On the underlying bill, as amended, which will come out as a committee substitute. Chairman Jacobs, did you want to make an amendment to the line 1161?
1191.
Or 1191?
Well, I mean, I do think it actually improves it to put that language in there.
Okay.
And then if we want to go further over in the Senate, that's up to the author.
All right. Well, let's have the amendment. Is it 20?
Sure. That would be on. Sorry, that would be on line 1191 after the word translation, to insert the words "verified by the translator." Must be accompanied by an English translation verified by the translator.
All right. Thank you. Is that a motion?
That's motion.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the Jacobs amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Jacobs amendment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you, Chairman. On the any further amendments? Okay, seeing none, on the bill, which will be a substitute from the committee, the amends LC 295598S. All those in favor of the bill as a substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you very much for your time. We'll stand adjourned to deal with the business.
Thank you.
Thank you.